Consider the problem of deep time. Physical media, from the earliest papyrus to modern digital servers, eventually succumb to rot, fire, or simple obsolescence. We are constantly searching for ways to save information that won't disappear within a few centuries. Ancient cultures found a more resilient medium, the sacred story. Think of myth not as primitive fiction, but as a self-replicating information system. Because stories are designed to be retold and remembered, they can carry complex data across thousands of years with minimal corruption. This suggests a new way to look at ancient Indian narratives. Instead of viewing them purely as religious symbols, we can examine them as data sets, long-term storage for observations about the history of life on Earth. Shifting our perspective this way changes our relationship with the past. It suggests that these texts might be sophisticated repositories of knowledge, preserved in a format meant to outlast any library. The most striking example of this is the Dashavatara, the traditional sequence of the 10 avatars of the Hindu deity Vishnu. In the 19th century, Charles Darwin established the scientific timeline for biological evolution, detailing how life progressed from simple to complex forms over time. Intrigued, modern biologists have noted a strange parallel. The order in which Vishnu's avatars descend to Earth appears to follow the same progression found in the Darwinian tree of life. This wasn't lost on the scientific community. The evolutionary biologist J.B.S. Haldane noted that the sequential forms of these avatars, moving from aquatic life to land-dwelling mammals, mirrored the actual history of vertebrate development. This has led to the avataric evolution theory, or AET. It proposes that the sequence isn't a coincidence of human pattern matching, but a structured narrative designed to preserve a timeline of biological milestones. If these correlations were intentional, it suggests the core principles of evolutionary progression were understood and recorded long before the tools of modern biology existed. To understand the logic behind this narrative, we must look at the philosophy that informs it. This is Samkhya, one of the oldest systematic schools of Indian thought. Samkhya describes the universe as an interplay between two principles. First, there is Prakriti, the active, mechanical force of physical matter and nature. The second is Purusha, the silent, witnessing consciousness that exists alongside matter, observing its transformations. In this system, evolution is a guided process. It isn't just about physical survival, it's a movement toward greater complexity, where matter and consciousness develop in tandem. To read the avatar sequence properly, we have to track both categories, the physical changes in the species and the expanding capacity of the mind. By examining the scientific layer of these stories, we can map specific avatars against the milestones of geological time. The sequence begins with Matsya, the fish. In biological terms, this corresponds to the Cambrian Genesis, the period when complex life first emerged and rapidly diversified within the primordial oceans. The timeline advances through amphibians and mammals until it reaches the fifth avatar, Vamana, the dwarf. This form aligns with the appearance of anatomically modern Homo sapiens. The story of Vamana describes a figure who is physically small but possesses the ability to cover the entire world in 3 steps. It's a metaphor for early humans, physically less imposing than other hominids, yet possessing a hidden potential. In these specific examples, we see a movement away from purely physical adaptations toward cognitive ones. The steps Vamana takes represent the shift into language, abstract thought, and the social cooperation required to inhabit every corner of the planet. The sequence follows a clear trajectory, shifting the focus of evolution from the development of gills and lungs to the development of the human mind. The parallels are striking, but we have to ask, how can we verify if this was a deliberate record of observation? One method currently being used is quantitative semantic alignment analysis, which employs artificial intelligence to evaluate the data. This process uses language models to mathematically compare the vocabulary in ancient Sanskrit texts against established geological dates. It looks for a non-random correlation between the descriptions of the avatars and the actual fossil records of those eras. Another test involves mapping the Siwalik Hills in northern India. Researchers are plotting ancient Vedic ritual sites alongside hominin fossil beds to find spatial correlation. If altars were built directly on fossil sites, it suggests these ancient populations were observing and interpreting earlier life forms. This is one of those tiered clay altars. Its presence in a fossil-rich landscape suggests that ritual practice and empirical observation of the Earth may have once been part of the same tradition. If these tests continue to show a significant overlap, it would suggest that these myths are the result of early humans documenting the world found buried beneath their feet. We must also address the limitations. The Dashavatara does not mention single-celled life, and it places reptiles out of their traditional evolutionary order. Expecting an ancient narrative to function exactly like a modern biology textbook is a mistake. These stories weren't written for peer-reviewed journals. They were written to survive. While science gives us the mechanical how of our survival, the narrative provides a framework for the why. It tracks the archetypal meaning of our development rather than every biological detail. If the first 9 avatars mapped our progression to the present, what does the 10th avatar suggest about our future? The final avatar is Kalki. Traditional imagery depicts a warrior, but viewed through the lens of evolutionary progression, Kalki represents the next major transition. This could take the form of artificial general intelligence, a new kind of non-biological complexity that fundamentally changes how information and consciousness are organized. Technologies like neurointerfaces and global networks are already beginning to link human minds in ways that mirror the symbiotic relationships found in nature. This suggests a move toward a more integrated, planetary level of human awareness. The Dashavatara functions as both a record of our biological past and a perspective map. It reminds us that our story is an ongoing process of transformation, leading toward a future we are just beginning to understand.